All right, guys, back out of here this week. Obviously, two really good teams this week, beginning with an Illinois team that is really good, really talented, well-coached, tough, obviously really, really hard to play, home or road, but certainly in that environment. Have a really, really passionate fan base that always shows up. I think their wing strength, their wing ability is really impressive and what has carried them. I know, like a lot of teams in college basketball, they've had some times where maybe they've struggled with a relatively new group or a lot of new faces, but a really good team. And then obviously Indiana's super talented, well coached, got really athletic. I think two of the most athletic teams that we'll see all year for sure. Two great road environments. As far as that's concerned, I said on the radio show, it continues to be a day-to-day situation that we're monitoring. As far as practice today, I don't really have any update on that. We'll know more here in a little bit, but we should know more by game time, obviously.
Chris, you said you started Ice the other day because you wanted him on Murray, and
Yeah.
You talk about Illinois' wings and things. Between Ice and Justice, how do you maybe weigh that going forward? If Ice can give you that kind of defensive bite, how do you weigh that going forward in some of these matchups?
Yeah, we'll continue to look at it, Adam. I think I like the balance it gives our lineup right now in terms of what, just to your point, some of the really talented wing players that we have in this league and the ability to guard those guys. So I like the balance it gives our team defensively and offensively. But we have, I think, multiple guys that can and will start. So we'll decide that here in the next 24 hours.
And it would seem when you have a 60-year guy who's a captain and has started every time he's been healthy, when you bring a guy like that off the bench, it could also seem like maybe after what he's gone through, you're trying to jumpstart him a little bit or take some pressure off of him. Did any of that play into as well, the decision to maybe let Justice see the game unfold before you brought him in?
I think sometimes it's really good to see it, Adam, and to take stock of it, whether players want to do that or not. It's a different story, but sometimes it does really give them the ability to just kind of sit back, see the game, take a deep breath, relax, and I thought he did some really good things.
Coach, I figured we talked to you about this after the game the other day, but just the moment with Owen getting on scholarship and what he's brought to the program and what went into that decision and everything.
Owen's been great for us, and we had a scholarship available after Seth's medical issues. So we anticipated all along. We thought potentially, we could hang on to it, but I think he's very deserving. He's 6'9", he's 220 pounds. He provides us a scout team center that can also play in a pinch if we need him. And great attitude, great kid. We were really happy to provide that moment for him.
How much communication have you had with Seth, I guess, since the year? So he's been in a lot of games, obviously.
Yeah. It's great to see him. I haven't talked to him a whole lot, but it was great to see Seth. He sits behind our bench a lot, and it was great to see him at the game. I think he might have been there with his girlfriend. It was great to see him at the game. He's obviously still a big part of this program.
Coach, after the first Rutgers game, remember one of the things you mentioned was the bigger guards they have, and especially when Isaac was not there, the struggle of guarding taller guards. Would like your just general thoughts on Terrence Shannon, and do you feel like maybe you have a little better chance to prevent some damage from him with the way Ice is playing right now?
Well, he certainly is. I think he's the most athletic player in our league, and I think he's certainly one of the most talented. You look at him, and then you look at the freshman guard from Indiana. Similar thing, ability to score at all three levels, ability to get to the rim, make threes, make threes behind ball screens, at the same time make mid-range. So he's a tremendous talent. I think Isaac's ability to just make those guys work will be important, but it just won't be on him. It'll be on a number of those guys, Roddy and some other guys.
You guys end the 5-game losing streak, but players talked about, if we could just get that one win, maybe it could snowball a little bit. How do you build from that after trying to get that win, got it, now what, so to speak?
I think it's just focus on, the things we did well, and, when you go back and you look at it, you don't want to make too much of one game. I think the reality is, there were some stretches of really good play during the losing streak, and then certainly some stretches of poor play. But some of the games that went down to the last, 4 minutes, almost all of them, were games that we just needed to do some things a little bit better. Sometimes you get beat, sometimes you need to do things a little bit better, and that's been our focus in trying to correct some of those things. I thought we did a good job attacking Iowa's pressure. We did a good job expanding the lead once it got from 6 to 8, 8 to 10, to kind of getting it out of reach there in the last 4 minutes against a really good offensive team. So there's some good things that were done, but there's some things we got to improve on as well, and that's the focus.
You've mentioned several times, you mentioned on the radio show, starting 3 freshmen, and obviously 4 playing a lot. Does that increase the kind of ebbs and flows a team tends to go through when you have young guys like that playing quite a bit? I
think it does, but they've also played not a lot right now, where we should start to see less of that. And again, they're still freshmen, but we played them a lot, and we should start to see some more. I do think there's a fatigue element to some of this, but that you just, as an older kid, you don't experience as much. And I don't have the numbers, I just don't remember us here, starting 3 freshmen that much outside of maybe, one game a few years ago with a bunch of injuries. So it is different.
You guys have had 5 different starting rotations the last 6 games. You mentioned how there's multiple guys that can start.
Yeah.
How much at this point of the season is that just the reality of playing in the Big Ten and having matchups that you like versus the teams that you're facing, and how much does availability come to that point?
Both. I think some of those were injury related. Actually, a couple of them were injury related. Sean being out, we didn't know if Sean was going to play. Sean actually asked to kind of come off the bench in this game because of just wasn't sure all of what he was going to be able to give, and then Zed being out. So it was really more a byproduct of that. I don't think there could be some small tweaks in the starting lineup, but it'll probably stay somewhat consistent, as will the rotation.
And then for Illinois, they've got a couple front court players that can shoot well from 3 too. Mayer and Hawkins, they're both pretty good 3-point shooters. Having faced a guy like Dawson Garcia in Minnesota that gave you guys some trouble, what did you learn from that game, and what can you apply to the game against Illinois coming up?
Yeah, they're a little different than Dawson, but similar in the fact that they can't stretch the defense. And Hawkins is a guy who played the 4, who now plays the backup 5 and starts at the 4. Long, rangy kid who provides a lot for him. They're a team that plays with tremendous energy, home and road, but certainly at home. And they're a team that can really score in bunches. And then their defense has turned teams over a lot. I think that's something we definitely need to be able to handle well.
Last couple of weeks, Casey, the back end finish for that.
You talked about the pace that Ice was playing with. He was able to go coast to coast. Sean was able to hit a step into a 3. Is that something we'll see from the offense, and what advantages can that provide playing with tempo and playing with that pace?
I liked our pace. I thought it was better, but that's not always going to be the case in every game. Some teams are going to play a little bit slower pace. Iowa plays a little bit more wide open, and we were fine with playing that pace. We've got to be able to finish games when they're going to be in the 50s and 60s too, and be effective at doing that. And we also have to be able to play with pace when the game is that way.
And I think the term you used was coaching to the heart, kind of during this January stretch and as the season winds down. I'm just curious, what does that mean to you, just to coach to the heart?
I think it's coaching their hearts, and I think it just, you're looking at the whole person. I think that's the biggest thing. They're more than just players. They are young men who are going through what young men go through at their age. And it's not just about their performance. It's about them as people and how they're dealing with all the experiences that they have as athletes in a high-profile sport at a high-profile university in front of a lot of people, their friends, their family, on TV. You're trying to coach their hearts. You want them to know that and feel that, and that's really the expectation for us as a staff, and hopefully we do that well.
You mentioned with Sean, him asking to come off the bench, but I'm sure you also had to feel good with how Roddy had done leading into the game.
Yeah.
You felt comfortable starting him.
Yeah.
When Sean's status is maybe a little up in the air, what did you see from Roddy in that moment when he's had some tough games leading into this stretch? How did you see him attack that opportunity?
He had really good couple days of practice. You know, I think was probably excited about the opportunity to start Adam, but also just had a couple really good days of practice. And I think it probably helped him being at home too, where you're just a little bit more comfortable as a young kid. His defense has been ahead of his offense. I think the game has been fast for him, but you can see glimpses of his talent. And that's what we've seen as coaches. You just see glimpses of his talent, and you're saying, boy, he's going to be a really good player. And he is. There's no question in my mind he's going to be a really good player.
How has he handled maybe, I don't want to use the word frustration, but like when you're seeing those glimpses and you're going through a tough stretch, you know the potential is there and he's not quite getting to it at this point. How has he been in practice? What's he been like as a teammate, just trying to find his way and figure out how he can make an impact?
Good. Got a great family who are really supportive and understand this is going to be a process. I think that helps the young man. He's really close with his family. He's got just a beautiful family that loves Roddy and supports him, and knows that there's a process to this, and knows that he's gonna grow into a really good player. So I think that helps him a lot. But it's a lot of conversations.
More into the Jack.
Do you have a follow-up, Adam?
Just one more thing, but you don't mind. Playing without Zed when you had to play without him, what did you learn in that short span there of like the Maryland game, that if he can't play tomorrow, if he can't play going forward for however long, what sort of things did that experience give you guys that you can build on?
We missed his physicality and his ability to be physical over the course of the game. We got to figure out how to supplement that. We just missed his physicality. You know, Zed can, you know, have moments where, you know, he can be frustrated with himself over missing easy, you know, buckets or whatever, but in general, he provides a physical body, and that's really what we've missed, and we're gonna have to supplement that if he's out.
Chris, kind of veering from your own team, there's obviously going to be a huge game tonight in this building for the women's team hosting Iowa. You know, what is your impression of their start? What has been your impression of their start? You know, kind of what kind of message do you have for Buckeye Nation for this game tonight?
It's incredible. It's going to be a phenomenal game, and if you love college basketball, man, it'd be a great game to watch. I wish I could be here to watch it. Two phenomenal teams that I think are really have a chance to cut down the nets. It's just going to be a phenomenal game. Should be a phenomenal environment. Some tremendously talented basketball players on display here tonight. So go Bucks.